Hey everyone, it's your girl Jen, and today I just wanted to do a little chill heart-to-heart video about timelines and specifically my whole wedding pressure experience. I know that I had promised you guys this whole wedding series and I was going to show you guys everything that I did that led up to the wedding, but it never happened because planning the wedding was probably the most stressful thing that I've ever done, and also at times very excruciating. And I know that sounds so dramatic, but I just was mentally incapable of filming it because I just felt so frazzled. And now that it's been a whole year since the actual wedding, I finally feel okay to talk about it and express what was going on through my mind. For this video, I have partnered with SK2 to talk about societal pressures that are on women and to inspire women to develop their own timelines on their own pace. So SK2 produced this very moving docuseries called Timelines, and Katie Couric profiled 4 women around the world, and they talk about their own marriage pressure and how that role affected their lives and the people around them. One episode that really stuck out to me was Nara's. She is a young artist in Seoul, South Korea, and a lot of the expectations that were pushed onto her by her mom were very similar to mine. So, finding a good guy, settling down, and then getting married sometime in your early 30s. But her case was different because she's bisexual and she currently has a girlfriend. And right now in South Korea, same-sex marriage is not legal and it's still very, very taboo. It's moments like these that really remind me that I'm living in this liberal bubble in LA where just the concept of not being able to marry who you want to is just backwards. And I found it so profound to see her and her mom walk through Nada's own personal timeline of what she wants to achieve and what she wants to accomplish. And I just love the way SK2 depicted this. And they're really sparking up a conversation about the societal pressures that are on women to achieve certain things at a certain time. For me, I feel so lucky that I was able to marry the love of my life without anyone batting an eye, really. Today, I just kind of wanted to reflect on the pressures that I felt about the whole wedding experience, because I feel like pressures can come in all different sorts of contexts. And so before I get into that, I'll just give you a little backstory in case you guys don't know how Ben and I met. In March 2014, Ben and I met in San Francisco, and Ben and I just really hit it off. So for a whole year, Ben and I were long distance. He was in England, I was in America, and we just spent that year flying back and forth, just trying to find any time to spend together. But after doing a year of long distance, by the end of 2015, Ben left his band and his family and his friends and his whole life to come to LA to move in with me. And to this day, I still thank him for that because it's something that is so hard to just uproot your life. So while we were living together in 2016, obviously there were some hiccups on just moving in with a new person, especially after the honeymoon period fizzles out. But we really found ways to make it work, and we were getting stronger and stronger, and our relationship was at a point where we knew that we could see a future together. And we've talked about marriage, and I remember just looking at him and realizing that there's no one I want to see other than this person. And I couldn't imagine a life without this person. And so we had agreed that sometime in 2016, he would propose to me. And then on December 29th, 2016, Ben popped the question. He got us a Christmas gift to stay at Terranea for a couple of days, and it was truly the most romantic thing anyone has done for me, and it was perfect. After he proposed, we got all the documents, we got an immigration lawyer, and then on March 26th, 2017, that was the day we actually got married. We had gotten an Airbnb over the weekend, and Stephanie got her ordained minister license, and all our friends were already there because it was Sophia's birthday weekend. And yeah, I threw on just a little white dress I had. Ben threw on a suit, and on that day we got married, and it was perfect. It was intimate, there was no pressure, and we just partied and celebrated the night away. And if I could go back in time, we would have just left it at that, because planning the wedding, oh my God, I didn't realize what I had in store. I've mentioned this before, but I was never ever the type of person to fantasize about my wedding, about being a bride, and or even have a Pinterest board of what I liked. So when it was time to plan the wedding, I was just so overwhelmed. Every dress looked the same to me, every type of flower, and I just felt this crippling pressure that this day had to be the best day of our lives. And so I wanted to kind of break down the three main pressures that I felt. So first, I want to talk about my parents. My dad was very, very adamant about us getting married at a church. And when I told him we wanted to get married in Malibu, he just lost it. He was like, no, do you realize how ceremonial your wedding needs to be? It needs to be done by this Korean pastor in these churches. Ben and I didn't want to. So my dad and I fought for a full month, and we are both very stubborn. I would say I get that from my dad. We just couldn't find a good way to communicate because we would just be screaming at the top of our lungs. Finally, we came to a compromise. My dad said he was just gonna plan his own Korean church blessing and invite all of his church friends and the pastors and everybody. And it ended up being a really amazing day because I was able to share my culture with Ben and his family, and it was just a beautiful moment. So the second pressure I felt was from my wedding planner. Since I didn't know how to plan a wedding, I was like, hey, let's get a professional. So we found her on Yelp, and she just, I feel like she cornered me into making a lot of decisions that I didn't want to. But at the end of the day, I can't blame her because I'm the one who allowed myself for it to happen. So I don't know. And she was just doing her job, just trying to get as much business for her vendors on her list. I should have spoken up more, and I should have drawn some boundaries of what I wanted to spend and what she wanted me to spend. There were so many little details that go into a wedding that you need to purchase that I didn't even realize were important. For example, chargers. What are chargers, you may ask? They are decorative plates that go underneath the actual plates. You don't even eat off the chargers. But when I told her, I don't really want chargers, she was like, it's just not gonna look as nice without the chargers. You should really, really, really consider it. So then I was like, oh, okay, I want it to look nice, so all right. So we signed up on the chargers. Another quick example were the linens. We could have just gotten the linens that the venue provided, but then she was like, oh no, those are hotel linens. They're just gonna ruin everything that you've already invested in. You should really get these satin linens. And again, I was just like, yeah, you're right, we did. I want it to look nice, so okay. Looking back, I realized that I was being a total pushover. I was just letting this woman tell me all these things that I needed, and I wasn't standing up for myself because now no one really cares that we got those satin linens, and no one really noticed our marble chargers. And yes, we have photos, and I'm gonna put a photo here because they were really nice looking, but were they necessary? If you guys are currently planning a wedding, please stick to your guns and gut and don't be like me and just letting yourself being pushed in every corner. So the last pressure I want to talk about is the pressure that I put on myself. I have spent nearly a decade documenting my life and sharing it, that I felt like this wedding had to be some type of performance. I wanted it to look good for you guys. And it makes me kind of sick to admit that now, but a lot of that was going through my mind. I put on this pressure that I had to be extra skinny for the wedding. I wanted to lose 7 pounds, even though I was at a perfectly fine weight. But I put myself on these unrealistic diet plans that I would fail because I love food too much. I've always dealt with body image and the perception of my own body. And because on this special day I didn't meet this goal weight that I had, I just felt so disappointed in myself. I feel like the subject of body image can be a separate video, but basically me being so concerned about the way I looked really, really took a toll on my mental health as well. When people would just ask me oh my gosh, how's wedding planning? Because it should be a subject that is exciting. I would just freeze up and I would just change the subject because I didn't want to talk about how stressed out I was. It made me feel ungrateful. It made me feel awful because I felt like every other bride was just enjoying this experience, and here I was just like pulling out my hair because of it. Our actual wedding day was amazing because I did emotionally and mentally let go, and I didn't want to expect that this was gonna be the best day and the most defining moment of my life. And so when I watched the wedding video, I feel like that's when everything really processed for me. Looking back, I really wish I told myself to release myself of these wedding pressures a lot earlier on, because I think the whole process would have gone a lot more smoothly. Your wedding day should be about you and your partner and your guys' love and nothing else. It's one day that happens and then life goes on. But I just wanted to share this story in case anyone else or any bride has felt the way that I did. Pressures can come in so many different forms and situations, and sometimes it's easier to let them just control you, but I'm here to remind you that it's okay to push back on conventional norms and to stand up for yourself and to write your own timelines and to control your own destiny. And I hope that this is empowering you guys to be able to take more autonomy with your life. Once again, I want to thank SK2 for allowing me to be a part of their Change Destiny campaign. I will leave all the links in the description box, so please go check it out. And now I want to turn the floor onto you. If you guys have ever been in a situation where you felt just pressured on time about something, I would love to hear about it. And I really do love listening to your guys' stories, and just know that I will be reading them. I want to thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye! Mwah.